the courtroom felt cold. Not just because the air conditioner was working too hard, but because the air inside was filled with tension. On the judge's bench sat Helena, a woman in her 30s, authoritative, highly educated, and known for her firmness. Since her youth, Helena had believed that justice was the holiest thing in the world, holier than any religion, she once thought. That day, the case before her seemed simple. An elderly woman in a worn-out hijab was accused of stealing a gold necklace from the jewelry store where she worked as a cleaner. Helena looked at the old woman. Her face was wrinkled. Her hands trembled as she clutched the edge of her scarf. But those eyes, there was something different about them, eyes so calm. Even though the whole room looked at her with suspicion, the prosecutor eagerly opened his file, presenting a blurry video that showed a figure in a long robe entering the store area. Everyone in the courtroom was almost convinced. It must have been the old woman. "How do you plead, madam?" Helena asked in her usual even tone. The old woman slowly stood up. "Your Honor," her voice was hoarse but calm, "I did not take anything. Allah knows what I did and what I did not do." Helena straightened slightly. She often heard defendants mention God, but this time it felt different. There was serenity in those words, as if the woman believed that truth didn't rest solely in the hands of the judge but in something higher. The trial was adjourned, yet Helena's heart was restless. That night, she went through the case files again, watching the video over and over, until one small detail caught her attention, a shadow reflected in the store window that didn't match the old woman's posture. The next day, Helena ordered a reinvestigation. And indeed, the real culprit turned out to be a young cashier who had tried to cover up her own theft by framing the elderly woman. When the truth was revealed in court, the room fell silent. The old woman only smiled gently and said softly, "All praise be to Allah. He is the best of helpers." Helena looked at her. "You're not angry for being falsely accused?" The woman smiled again. "Why should I be angry, my dear? This world is temporary. What matters is that the heart remains pure before Allah." The words were simple, but they struck Helena's heart like lightning. That night she couldn't sleep. She stared at the sky from her balcony, asking herself, how could that woman remain so calm after being treated so unjustly? In the following days, Helena couldn't resist her curiosity. She began reading about Islam, not to seek faith, but to understand how someone could possess such serenity. She read about patience, justice, and trust in God. The more she read, the more her heart trembled. She came across a verse that made her weep without knowing why. Indeed, Allah commands you to render trusts to whom they are due, and when you judge between people to judge with justice. Justice, the very word she had upheld all her life, turned out not merely to be a human duty, but an act of worship. A few weeks later, Helena gathered her courage to visit the old woman's home. It was a small house on the outskirts of the city, simple, yet full of warmth. The old woman welcomed her without surprise, as if she already knew Helena would come. "My child, what are you seeking?" she asked gently, serving her a cup of warm tea. Helena looked down at the cup in her hands. "I don't know, but I feel something is missing in my life. Something you call faith." The old woman smiled. "If the heart has been called, my dear, don't be afraid to come." Months passed. Amid her busy days at court, Helena began learning to recite short verses, praying quietly in her room. Until one night, under the soft light of the moon, she wept for a long time, and with a trembling voice she declared, "I bear witness that there is no God but Allah, and Muhammad is the messenger of Allah." The next morning, she looked at herself in the mirror not just as a judge, but as a servant who had found true peace. When she met the old woman again, they embraced. Helena whispered, "Thank you. Because of your serenity, I found my Lord." The old woman replied softly, "Not me, my dear. It was Allah who guided you. I was only a small witness to his justice." From that day on, Helena continued her work as a judge. But every time she struck her gavel, she prayed silently, "O Allah, guide me so that every strike of my gavel becomes a path to the justice you are pleased with." And whenever people called her Your Honor, she only smiled because she knew that true honor does not come from a title, but from a heart that submits to God. It had been 3 months since Helena uttered the Shahada. In the quiet of her home, every night she recited the Quran softly. Her tongue still stumbled over the words, but her heart felt at peace every time she mentioned the name of Allah. She had begun learning how to pray, learning to cover herself modestly slowly, even if only at home. But that peace did not last long. The outside world, which once admired her so much, now began to question her. One morning in her chambers, one of her colleagues, Arthur, knocked on the door. "Helena," he said, looking at her with a puzzled expression, "I heard a rather strange rumor. People are saying that you've converted to Islam?" Helena looked at him calmly. "Yes, I found the truth there." Arthur was silent for a moment. "You know what this could mean, right? The ethics board might review your position. They don't like judges showing any religious affiliation." Helena took a deep breath. "I'm not seeking position, Arthur. I'm seeking peace and true justice." Arthur shook his head. "I've known you for years, Helena. You used to be logical, rational. I don't recognize you anymore." "It's precisely because of logic that I ended up here," Helena replied softly. The following days were difficult. Rumors spread throughout the courthouse about the judge who changed her faith, about hidden fanaticism, even about possible bias toward Muslim defendants. One afternoon, Helena was summoned to a private hearing before the Judicial Ethics Board. 4 senior judges sat before her, their gazes sharp. "Helena," said one of them, "we respect personal beliefs, but you know this position demands neutrality. Many believe your new faith could now influence your decisions." Helena looked at them steadily. "With respect, I embraced Islam not to judge others, but so that I could be more just. Don't all religions call for truth and justice?" One of the female judges at the far end spoke in a cutting tone. "But you now wear a headscarf outside of court hours. That's a religious symbol. It's not appropriate for a judge to display such preference." Helena gave a faint smile. "This head covering isn't a political statement. It's a covenant between me and my Lord. I've broken no law and betrayed no justice." The room fell silent. None of them could respond with any legal argument. Helena knew she was now being watched. Every one of her rulings was reviewed twice over. Yet strangely, she felt lighter. She wrote her judgments with great care, weighing every word with prayer. In silence, she prayed that each decision would be an act of worship. One day, she met again with the old woman who had been the start of it all. This time, the woman came not as a defendant, but as a guest. She brought a basket of dates and a gentle smile. "I heard you found the light, my dear," she said. Helena bowed her head, holding back tears. "Thanks to your prayers." The woman shook her head. "Not anyone's prayers, my dear. It was Allah who chose you. But remember, when light comes, shadows always try to extinguish it. Don't be afraid. The light of Allah never fades." Those words echoed in Helena's mind for days. A few months later, a major case landed on her desk, a case involving a powerful public figure. Pressure came from all directions. The media, politicians, even her own colleagues. "Helena, you know who you're dealing with," said Arthur worriedly. "Don't be reckless. If you hand down a guilty verdict, your career could be over." Helena looked at the files before her. The evidence was clear, the witnesses consistent, and the law was firm. Guilty. But outside, the world was waiting and watching. That night, she spent a long time in sujud, her forehead pressed to the prayer mat, tears streaming down. "O Allah, you know that I only wish to be just. But I am afraid, O Lord, afraid of losing everything." Then she remembered the verse that had once made her fall in love with Islam. "O you who believe, be persistently standing firm in justice, witnesses for Allah, even if it be against yourselves." The next morning, the courtroom was full. Helena struck the gavel, looked at everyone present, and read her verdict in a firm voice. Based on the evidence and lawful testimony, the court finds the defendant guilty. Justice recognizes no great names. The room erupted. The media swarmed. Criticism poured in from every direction. Yet amid the storm, her heart was calm, because for the first time she felt truly free, not from the law, but from fear. Outside the courthouse, the old woman was waiting for her. She placed a hand on Helena's shoulder and whispered, Now you're not only a judge in this world, my dear, you're also writing a verdict for your hereafter. Helena looked up at the sky, tears falling from her eyes. She knew her journey was far from over, but for the first time, she feared no one except the God who had placed light within her heart. The story above is not a true story, but a work of fiction inspired by the noble values of truth, justice, and the light of Islam. Through Helena's journey, this story seeks to portray how inner peace, honesty, and sincerity can guide a person toward true enlightenment, a truth that transcends status, position, and prejudice. In this story, Islam is depicted not merely as a symbol or identity, but as a faith that teaches humanity to be just, patient, and compassionate toward others. May this story serve as a gentle reminder that the light of goodness can touch anyone, at any time, and in ways we could never have imagined. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share the story so that more hearts may be touched by its message of goodness. See you again in the next meaningful story.